So it's happening. The downfall. The downfall is here. Has Manchester City been slain forever? No. And we're going to get into a bunch of crazy statistics about what is happening to Man City here. They just got gun smoked by Tottenham. They've lost 5 straight competitive matches that they're really, there's no logical explanation for them to lose 5 of these 5 matches in a row. This isn't one of those stretches that you can get in the Premier League that's bad out of hell problematic. You've got Real Madrid in the Champions League, and then Liverpool, and then Arsenal, and then Tottenham, the slayers of Manchester City everywhere. No, I mean, this was lose to Tottenham, lose to Bournemouth, lose to Sporting, lose to Brighton, and then lose to Tottenham again. I mean, you're not playing a team that's in the top 5 of any of the top 5 leagues in Europe there, and you're still getting smacked. I mean, now I guess maybe that's unfair to Brighton, who is 5th in the Premier League now after their win against Manchester City. You get the general idea of what I'm trying to say here. This is not one of those runs where it would make sense for a team like Manchester City to lose 5 consecutive competitive matches. And yet it has happened. And what the hell are we supposed to make of that? Well, like I was saying, I don't think they're toast. I mean, it's really fun to watch Manchester City lose because Pep Guardiola definitely gets pretty smug. I mean, I would too if I was winning as many matches as he was. But it's just, I always think it's interesting when you watch teams that have been really successful for a long time that just start losing matches. It's fascinating to see what happens, the human nature of the whole thing. Who reacts what way, and how do they handle it, and how are they able to get out of it? Because this is a mental thing. I told you I was going to give you underlying numbers. Well, the underlying numbers from all of these matches really aren't that bad. Okay, I mean, they lost to Sporting, but they won the XG in that game, at least for the vast majority of it. I mean, it's not like they were, outplayed by Bournemouth. At Tottenham, the XG was pretty close. And other underlying statistics like possession and the progressive passing and the key whatevers, right? But there's a lot of teams that do really well in XG and underlying statistics that would indicate success. Former Chelsea and Brighton teams come to mind, but they're not able to actually win the number of matches that Manchester City's been able to win over the past couple of years. Because there is a big difference, a big cutting edge difference between teams like Manchester City that create that dominance and capitalize on it, and teams like the old Chelsea and old Brighton and plenty of other good examples that create a lot of good underlying statistics in a lot of the matches they play, but they can't capitalize on it. Manchester City for 6 years has been a machine. And this is the first time that we have seen that machine broken down on the side of the road. And I really got that feeling when they were losing against Sporting. It was the first time that we were watching Manchester City just lose a match to a team they really should have been beating. And there was no solid explanation for it. We've gotten so comfortable watching Manchester City just beat people. And yeah, if they lose a match, it's a near run thing, and it's obvious they were the better team, and you give up a late set piece goal or something. Those are the types of matches that they would lose. They folded in that one match against Real Madrid, but that was just, one of the great matches of the last 10 years in the Champions League, whatever it was, 2 years ago. I mean, this is a team that has not lost more than, I looked this up. It took a lot of scrolling. It is a team that has not lost more than 2 matches in a row since this is April of 2018. And this is when Manchester City was knocked out of the Champions League by Liverpool, and sandwiched between their 2 losses to Liverpool in the Champions League was a loss against Manchester United by 1. Obviously you'd love to not lose any matches, but if you're going to lose 3 matches in a row, that is you've got your biggest derby and then Liverpool in the Champions League in back-to-back matches. That is an understandable set of 3 losses, and that takes us back to freaking this. Tottenham, Bournemouth, Sporting, Brighton, Tottenham again, that time at home. And it wasn't just any normal game either. They honored Rodri on the field before the game, which if you're a Rodri hater, this is, I've seen people actually jump on the trade here and be like, oh, it's hilarious that Rodri's celebrating his Ballon d'Or, his fake Ballon d'Or, and They lost the match right after it. Honestly, if you're a Rodri hater, this is a terrible look because you got the guy winning the Ballon d'Or and the team that he is now not able to be a part of is losing at a clip that it just never lost with while he was on the team. If anything, this is a sign of how important Rodri is to Manchester City's continued success because he's been out of the team for a couple months and all of a sudden the wheels have fallen off. They've lost 5 straight matches. I mean, I nearly pulled a finger scrolling down far enough to find 3 consecutive losses. And you'd have to scroll a hell of a lot farther to find another set of 3 matches. Screw losses. 3 matches in a row they just didn't win. You got to go all the way back to 2016 to find that second example of 3 matches in a row they didn't win. This is the last time that you had a 5-match stretch that Manchester City did not get a win in, and it actually ended up being 6 matches overall, but 3 of them were draws. It's unprecedented, not just because of how good Manchester City has been, but because of numbers like these. According to Opta Joe, Man City are the first reigning top-flight champions to lose 5 games in a row in all competitions since Chelsea in March of 1956. This doesn't happen. 5 losses in a row, it just doesn't happen. I mean, even Southampton, who's bottom of the Premier League, has not lost 5 matches in a row. That, obviously, neither is Manchester City in the Premier League, but that conceptualizes it for you that 5 competitive losses in a row is right here. They got knocked out of the League Cup, a competition that Manchester City owns perennially. They have certainly stagnated in the Champions League, and they're going to make it interesting as to whether they can get a top 8 finish to get the bye to the last 16 or not. And Pep Guardiola just got a contract extension in the middle of it. This is his first stretch of 5 consecutive losses anywhere in his career. Then I know the rub on Pep is that he only goes to clubs that are world class, and then he goes to clubs that spend billions of dollars and have some of the best players in the world. But there are a lot of clubs out there like that, and only one Pep Guardiola that's been able to win leagues as consistently as he's been able to win leagues over the course of his career. But something is not working. And the truth that you and I and everybody else need to process is we don't really know what that thing is. I'm assuming Pep Guardiola at least has some idea what it is, but for the first time in a long time, there is something actually broken at Manchester City, and what an opportunity that is. Because my goodness, Manchester City has been demanding perfection out of its competitors, whether it be Liverpool or Arsenal, for the last 6 years. And now Liverpool's still playing at the level City's used to playing at, and they have a chance to go 8 points clear. I think it might even be more than that. They have a chance to go 8 points clear at the top of the table after just 12 matches. That's unthinkable in the Premier League era that has included Manchester City being as good as they've been. It is completely unthinkable. Manchester City can go through the first 12 matches of a season without dropping 8 points. Easy. They do it all the time, but not now. Eventually that clock strikes midnight, everything goes against you, and you start playing terribly. And the robotic system that Manchester City has played just glitched. It's just completely glitched. 4-0. Tottenham's not been good this year. They lost their last Premier League match to Ipswich, the Tractor Boys. That is the only win for Ipswich in the Premier League all season. And then Tottenham goes to Manchester City in its next match and beats them. I love that Ange Postecoglou gets his team up for every match, but this is not a team that Manchester City should be in the same ballpark with based off of results over the course of this season so far. Or, everything we know about Manchester City and how good their players are and what they're capable of. This should have never even been a match. And now you've got Spurs fans, and I'm just playing this because this is awesome, chanting, "You're getting sacked in the morning" at Pep Guardiola.
Sacked in the morning! Sacked in the morning! You're getting sacked in the morning!
But that's an experience as a fan that I hope if you are a fan of a team, you have the opportunity to have at some point where you can't even believe what you're watching. You're not even on cloud 9. You're above cloud 9. You're on the moon staring down at cloud 9 because you're watching your Tottenham team 4-0 up against Manchester City when you would have shaken somebody's hand off for a draw at the start of the match. I don't have highbrow takeaways about what tactically Manchester City is doing wrong. Tactically, they're doing the same damn thing. It's just not working anymore. And it's going to test Manchester City's players. It's going to test Pep Guardiola to try and overturn this. But I think the feeling I get the most is Nothing like losing 5 matches to finally get everybody to appreciate what they've done up to this point. Right? Robotic success is incredibly fucking boring. Everybody can agree with that. Manchester City's boring, right? They have been boring. But that kind of methodical ability to win all of these matches in a row is crazy impressive. Right? They got the 115 charges. They might be about to get yeeted into the sun, and they're just getting used to playing National League level football. Maybe that's something that they're doing right now. But this is potentially a sign that the era is ending. Do I expect it to go on forever? No. I think Manchester City is going to end up top 3 in the league. I would not be overly stunned if they managed to turn it on, because they've flipped the switch in the past and then just reeled everybody in and won the league anyways. Wouldn't be stunned if they still won the league. But you know, it used to just be this solid steel wall that we knew was the greatness that Manchester City was going to provide. And that was what everybody else was measuring themselves against. And now there's just a big old crack in that solid steel wall. Doesn't mean the wall's going to give, but it means that everybody else can see the light. It's just peeking through. And that eras do come to an end. All it took was Ten Hag getting fired and then getting hired into the backroom staff of Manchester City for him to bring that bad voodoo over. Also, tough look for Erling Haaland. He was just getting into his shit-talking era, and then now Manchester City's terrible form has kind of pulled that rug out from under him. I really do feel for him, because I was enjoying Erling Haaland's shit-talking era. It was fun. Now he can't do it anymore because they're getting clapped every game. Whatever.